going on, people? This is Rob from the Corner Store Podcast. Subscribe, like, comment, and share the content. Now, this video is going to be about the WNBA. Seems like most of their press have been off the court versus on the court, which is their product. It's pretty much not good. The viewership is not there. The bus is not in the seats, and there's no interest in it. It's just basic economics. The NBA makes about $8 billion a year, while the WNBA makes about $60 million a year. The NBA subsidized the WNBA by losing $2 million a year. The fans pretty much kind of voted with their wallet. They really don't want to watch the product that the WNBA has to offer. Now, the NBA, they kind of encourage the players to attend these games and give out supporting tweets to the WNBA, but unfortunately, the WNBA players are not really susceptible to what the NBA players are doing. I mean, at the end of the day, that is a monetary value in what these players are doing. Like if any NBA player was to kind of tweet out like, "Hey, watch the Corner Store podcast," I will have literally 25,000 subscribers overnight. It is a monetary value to that, but if these NBA players was to kind of tweet out in support of some of the WNBA players, as I will show later, it's just bad for business for these WNBA players to kind of like lash out at these NBA players just for showing some type of support for them. Now, in other women's sports like tennis, Naomi Osaka made about $55 million in 2020. Serena, she probably made just as much. There's interest in track and field, the high jump during the Olympics. In the Winter Olympics, you got curling and skiing, all types of stuff that the fans kind of support when it comes to women's sports. But unfortunately, WNBA, they just want to be professional victims. They want to drive this social engineering when it comes to the pay gap. They want to get better charter flights, the promotion, marketing. All that's all good, but there's no revenue coming into it in order for them to bridge that so-called pay gap. Now, when a WNBA first started back in '97, I mean, it was kind of exciting. There was sellout crowds in Madison Square Garden with the New York Liberty, the Compact Center with the Houston Comets, because they were pretty much like a dynasty, like the first 4 years by winning championships when they first started. And of course, the LA Sparks, they had sellout crowds at the Forum. But as time went on, the interest pretty much kind of decreased. So my suggestion to generate more interest, at least by men, is to sexy up the women a little bit by having them wearing spandex and sports bras. I mean, I know this sounds sexist, but at least it's going to at least try to generate some type of interest from the men. But at the end of the day, even the women really don't support the WNBA. WNBA, I'm sorry, the women, the average woman would rather go to an NBA game versus a WNBA game because, I mean, they may have the basic fundamentals when it comes to the game, but people want to see highlights. People want to see alley oops. People want to see long range 3 pointers. People want to see intensity, but that's what's lacking in the WNBA game. I mean, there's really no excitement that's going on. Now, Draymond Green, he was pretty much onto something when he was talking about how the WNBA players need to stop complaining when it comes to equal pay. I mean, he could have been more tactful about it, but he was pretty much on the right track. But he was the only one that had the guts to kind of say this out loud. And you had folks like the WNBA Player Association president, Shanae Agumike, and also Megan Rapinoe pretty much kind of lashed out at Draymond. And of course, the media kind of took their side. Draymond, he kind of in some way kind of walked his comments back a little bit, but I mean, the toothpaste was already out. So whatever he said, it was pretty much the truth. But I mean, people smarter than me, they pretty much know what the deal is. But unfortunately, they want to tell these players that nothing's going to change unless you get asses in the seats and you get the interest when it comes to the fans. I mean, I have a very high cable and internet bill. I mean, my interest is as well in the NBA and professional football. But in my household, I pretty much want to watch professional, high intensity, high flying type of competition, in which that's what WNBA lacks. But if tomorrow they were to wear spandex and sports bras, I mean, I may end up getting season tickets for the Chicago Sky. So, but they're just me. Now, let me show you this meme when it comes to Sue Bird and LeBron James, as far as them trying to compare the two. Now, both have played 17 seasons in the WNBA. They both got 4 championships. Their 2020 salaries, see the big difference? Now, with LeBron only making $37 million. I mean, at the end of the day, he is underpaid. I mean, he could probably command maybe $80 million a year in the open market, but unfortunately, with the salary cap, he can only get a certain percentage of the team's overall salary. And when it comes to Sue Bird, she only made 215,000. But since the NBA subsidizes the WNBA, she's kind of overpaid. And for their bonuses for the championship, she made $11,000 while LeBron made $370,000. So, but compare and contrast. I mean, people have more interest in the NBA versus the WNBA. Now, the next situation we're going to talk about is an episode on the I Am Athlete podcast with Brandon Marshall, Chad Johnson, DK Metcalf, Justin Jefferson, and Lexi Brown. The name of the episode is Chad versus NFL and WNBA stars. Just to set up the clip, Chad, he was just being nosy with Lexi Brown's love life. And he was just asking her, like, hey, what if you could date someone like Kyrie? And she just had some type of disdain for Kyrie. But in the clip, you will see exactly what I'm talking about. And Lexi Brown, she is the daughter of the role player from the Celtics back in the 90s and D Brown. So just keep that in mind.
So I did that purposely to lead into my next question. If you had a favorite NBA player to go on a date with, who would it be? It's okay. They're not going to see this. We're going to edit this out. I'm just curious.
Why do I have to? Do I really have to
Yeah,
answer that?
please. Just you can say it. I can say it for you. I already know who it is.
Who is it?
Kyrie.
Ugh. No.
Oh!
Why would you say Kyrie?
Why you say ugh?
Do you see what he's doing right now?
That's what is he doing?
He's just being a menace.
Yeah.
But look what else he's done. Look at the good side.
See, at the end of the day, when it comes to Kyrie Irving, if you was to ask 10 people what they think about Kyrie Irving, you may get 10 different answers. But Kyrie went out of his way to give $1.5 million of his own money to the players that opted not to play in the bubble, as far as the WNBA tournament in the bubble in Orlando. So when it comes to like the NBA players like Lexi Brown, that's going to kind of snub their nose at Kyrie just because they perceive him to be toxic or what's the word that she used? Yeah, by calling him a menace. I mean, these players should be throwing rose petals at Kyrie's feet because he didn't really have to do that. And Kyrie is all about women empowerment. I mean, as far as what he's trying to do with social justice warriorism, and as far as him going AWOL on his own team, just to kind of do some work behind the scenes and kind of figure some things out when it comes to the the plight of the so-called black men and black women in society. And I mean, Kyrie, his heart is in the right place, but to me, he's kind of misguided. And to me, if you sign a contract with the NBA, and I mean, you have to obligate your contract and be on the court, do what you do best, play basketball, and during the off season, if you feel as though that you want to handle those social justice warrior causes, then do that full time. But during the season, you have to play out your contract and make sure that you give your all and give your undivided attention to the team, so that way you kind of have a better chance to win NBA championship. Now, this next tweet I'm going to show with Luka Doncic. Now, Luka, he had tweeted a picture of Agumike. Like, well, he was advocating for her to win Rookie of the Year, and he tweeted out this picture, and it says Rookie of the Year, recognized Rookie of the Year. So, and then the Minnesota Lynx, in which whom she plays for, they wrote, says a guy who hasn't been to a WNBA game all season, but got sent a jersey and a recorded scripted video. Now, this is so disingenuous. I mean, at the end of the day, this is really bad for business on the WNBA's part. But they need to kind of tighten up their PR. I mean, the Player Association, the WNBA commissioner, and the upper brass, they need to kind of hone these people in and just let them know, like, just by last night at these NBA players, regardless if they came to a game or not, this one tweet has a monetary value to it. You're being offered promotion. You're being offered some type of marketing when it comes to one of the top players that's under 25, tweeting out a picture with your player's jersey on it, advocating for Rookie of the Year. I mean, this is amazing promotion and marketing. So if anybody to like be against that, they're just so unfortunate because they just want to play this victim narrative all the time. Now, this next tweet I am going to show, Andre Iguodala, he had tweeted out a tweet that says, "Number 23 from the Mystics is nice. And I assume that is Ariel Powers, number 23 with the Mystics. She said, put some respect on my name or keep this tweet to yourself. Again, this is bad for business. No one would have known this person's name until Iguodala had tweeted this out. I mean, people probably would have been searching for her and looking up her stats, her highlights. She could have got some type of opportunity just from this one tweet. Now, for her to say to keep the tweet to yourself, again, this is bad for business. Again, the victim narrative. They want to be professional victims instead of professional basketball players. Jesus Christ. Now, another issue that came up a few years ago, there was this player, Candace Wiggins, in which she kind of outed the WNBA by saying that 98% of the players are lesbian and they bully the straight WNBA players. Now, this is a huge story in comparison to the Jonathan Martin and Richie Incognito bullying scandal that happened in the NFL, like roughly like around the same time. Now, that coverage in the NFL, that was literally like 24 hours, like around the clock. And you know, as far as men, professional men being bullied, I mean, from a man's standpoint, we just tell that guy just to kind of, you know, man up. And if you got to throw some hands in order to get your respect. But when it comes to, you know, straight women players being bullied by the lesbian players, in which, you know, Candace Wiggins claims that it's 98%, and that this should have been a huge story. But unfortunately, according to the narrative, it's not going to, according to the social engineering that they're trying to push this whole Marxist, socialist, live free, lesbian, gay lifestyle type of social engineering. So, but yeah, this is so unfortunate. And finally, the Liz Cambage incident, in which Kurt Miller, he was the coach of the Connecticut Sun. I guess that was a situation in which Liz was following his players, and Kurt went to the referee and said, "Hey, come on, she weighs 300 pounds." Now, by him making a comment, obviously he may have embellished his comment by saying she weighs 300 pounds, but clearly she doesn't weigh 300 pounds, like based on the eye test. But if these WNBA players want to be paid like men, they have to be treated like men. I mean, that's just part of trash talking. I mean, men get trash talk all the time. One time, Kevin Garnett said something about how Carmelo's wife smelled like Cheerios or something, even though that was kind of out of bounds. I mean, Kevin Garnett didn't get fined or he didn't get suspended over it. I mean, Carmelo, you know, standing up for his wife, he went to the locker room after the game to try to throw some hands on him. Now, I'm not advocating for violence, but as far as in the heat of competition, sometimes things get said. So, in order to kind of shut people up, you got to make sure that you win the game on the court and then talk your shit afterwards. So, and also Liz, she kind of made like an Instagram video afterwards, like explaining how she would never let a man talk to her the way that he talked to her like that, and how she called him like a, you know, little short white man. Now, her response video to him, I mean, wasn't any better. I mean, I thought the WNBA should have fined her just as well as, Kurt Miller. I think they fined him $10,000 and a 1 game suspension just because he said that she weighed 300 pounds. I mean, still, this was in the heat of competition. He was trying to get a call swayed in his team's favor, and unfortunately, with this woke media, they kind of went down on him, and she kind of played to it and try to play the victim and then make her own Instagram video and kind of demean the man. So still, I mean, it kind of goes both sides. So if you want to be paid like man, you got to be treated like a man and just keep it moving. Now, finally, I came across this article just today. It says Team USA men miss out on 3-on-3 Olympic qualification milestone first. WNBA players clinch the women's spot. Now, trust me, I think that in the coming days, they are going to kind of use this as ammunition to kind of, push this whole wage gap or bridge this wage gap. Now, mind you, as far as the men missing out on the cut for the Olympics, 3-on-3, Now, these were not household NBA names. I mean, actually, these are not really active NBA players, but the women that made it, these are active NBA, WNBA players. So, but just kind of expect for them to kind of like, use this as a stepping stone to reignite the talks for women get paid just as men. So, but that's just my take. So, that's just my theory. That's just me just predicting how the media is going to play this up. And again, it's all smoke and mirrors. So don't believe the hype. But yeah, I don't wish any ill will on the WNBA players. I want them to make as much money as possible. But as long as fans are not in the stands, as long as they're not buying concessions and buying merchandise and buying the cable packages that has the WNBA games, and as far as the ratings, I mean, if none of that's going to come into fruition, then whatever they're going to scream about, complain about gender pay and getting more charter flights, promotion and marketing, none of that will matter unless there's going to be more interest and more people in the seats buying up the merchandise and the tickets and everything that I mentioned before. So, but anyway, so yeah, this is just my take on the WNBA. They need to kind of tighten up a little bit. They need a reality check, but they just letting these players just vent and just say anything that they want to these NBA players who pretty much go out of their way to try to help them out. But still, they just want to keep this pretty little lie going to kind of keep the ladies appeased. And as long as us fans, speak up and kind of like call them out on it, hopefully all of this will stop. And I mean, at the end of the day, this is all about capitalism. Under capitalism, this league should have folded years ago, but under the NBA using socialist practices by losing $10 million a year, just keeping these ladies afloat by like allowing them to just play basketball. I mean, the WNBA is a charity league. It's not a money making league. It's a charity league. They're not making any money. Nothing's going to change, but I'm just sounding the alarm. I'm just talking my shit. But anyway, that's all I got. Peace.